Hello, friends. Here we are again, ready for another story. I hope you've had a good week. I wish I could hear all about it soon. This week's story is about the Prophet Ezekiel and the visions that he had. When you come back, you can find it in this box. This will be on the shelf with the other stories of prophets and people. So what is a prophet again? It's a person who comes so close to God, and God comes so close to them that they know what God wants. Ezekiel was a prophet to the people of God during the time they were in exile in Babylon. And in exile, the people would go down to the river to pray. They weren't sure that God could find them in this strange place, so they were always sure to face Jerusalem and the temple where they knew God was. One day, Ezekiel was with the people at the river, and he had a strange vision. He saw a storm coming, and in the clouds of the storm, he saw 4 creatures, like men, but with wings. And when they beat the wings, it sounded like thunder. Each of the creatures had 4 different faces. Each face was a different animal. Each creature had a wheel within a wheel, and even the wheels seemed almost alive. Ezekiel looked up, and he saw a throne. God was on the throne being carried by the creatures. Ezekiel was so afraid he fell to the ground. But God said, "Son of man, stand on your feet and I will speak with you." And the Spirit of God came into Ezekiel and lifted him to his feet. And then God said, "Eat what I give you. Eat this scroll so that my words will be within you." Ezekiel did, and it tasted sweet like honey. This was just the first of Ezekiel's vision. Before his time as a prophet was over, he had more than 50 more visions. And at first, the visions were about the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple. And later, they were about hope for the people. For example, one time, God told Ezekiel to take a brick that was still wet and draw the map of Jerusalem on it. He placed it on the ground, and around it put toy soldiers. This was to let the people know that Jerusalem would be destroyed by the Babylonian army. There were many more visions of this destruction, and they all came true. Jerusalem was destroyed, and the temple, it all crumbled. There was very little left. After the destruction of Jerusalem, God sent messages of hope through the prophet Ezekiel. One time, Ezekiel had a message about shepherds God said, not all shepherds are like the Good Shepherd. They're not even like the ordinary shepherd. Sometimes they're just bad. But God said, I will rescue the people from the bad shepherds. I myself will be the shepherd of the people and will bring them into their own land. Another time, Ezekiel got a vision about water. God said, I will sprinkle clean water upon the people when they return to Jerusalem to cleanse them of all their wrongdoings. God said, a new heart I will give you, and a new spirit I will put within you. I will be your God, and you will be my people. Another vision Ezekiel had was a pile of bones. And God breathed life into these bones, and they came alive. And this vision was to show they came alive like God's people would come alive. God said, I will put my spirit in them, and they will live. Ezekiel died while in exile. He had seen the destruction of his beloved city, but he also saw a vision of a people living in a restored city who were content. The city would be called, "The Lord is there." I wonder which part of the story you liked the best. I wonder which part you thought was most important. I wonder where you see yourself in this story. I wonder if there's any part of this story we could leave out and still have all the story we need. I wish I could hear your answers, but I hope that you'll think about this story and about all these visions that Ezekiel had. I'm going to put this away. The city that was all remade. The bones that came to life again. The water that God will sprinkle upon the people. The ordinary shepherd and the good shepherd. Brick with Jerusalem drawn on it, the scroll that tasted of honey, Ezekiel's first vision, and the time that the people were in exile. I hope you enjoyed that story.
So today I'm going to start reading Schomberg, the man who built a library, and I think it's going to take us more than 1 week. But anyway, we'll get started and we'll continue it next week. So it's relevant for this week because I talked about humility in our children's message and serving others, and Schomberg, of course, did that. So let's begin. Schomberg, the Man Who Built a Library, by Carol Boston Weatherford and illustrated by Erica Velasquez. Prologue. Bibliophile. Bibliophile means somebody who loves books. Arturo Schomberg was more than a book lover. More than a mailroom clerk at Bankers Trust, where he supervised 11 white men. Unheard of authority for a black man of that time. He recognized early on that history was not history unless it was complete from all angles. Like a detective, he hunted for clues and found facts affirming the role of African descendants in building nations and shaping cultures. Fellow book collector Arthur Spingarn noted that Arturo would approach an immense pile of apparently worthless material and unerringly find one or two treasures which would have been lost to a less inspired collector. Arturo believed that those facts once unearthed would speak loud and clear in halls of knowledge, daring another teacher to tell a black child that the Negro has no history. Time and again, through print, music, and art, Schomberg proved otherwise. On his lifelong quest, he was not just collecting rarities, he was correcting history for generations to come. He wanted the facts to reach the community and boys and girls in classrooms to teach that Black heritage knows no national boundaries. And today, the Harlem Library, bearing Schomberg's name, boasts more than 10 million items, a beacon for scholars all over the world, bringing light to past glories that Arturo always knew existed. Fifth grade. Arturo Schomberg was born with a sense of wonder. As a boy in Puerto Rico, he shadowed tabaqueros, the cigar workers. These men pooled money to pay a lector to read aloud in the factory. Newspapers, novels, speeches, and politics. Arturo took the scent of cured tobacco and the sound of a reader's voice. Thus, Arturo learned not only his ABCs, but also to love the written word. So when his fifth grade teacher told him that African sons and daughters had no history, no heroes worth noting, did the twinkle leave Arturo's eyes? Did he slouch his shoulders and hang his head low and look to the ground rather than the horizon? No, his people must have contributed something over the centuries. History the teachers didn't teach. Until then, school children like Arturo would not learn of their own heritage, ignorance shackling them like chains. After that teacher dismissed his people's past, did the twinkle leave Arturo's eyes like a candle blown out in the dark? No, the twinkle never left. It grew into a spark. Genius. Where is our historian to give us our side, Arturo asked, to teach our people our own history? Afro-Puerto Rican, born in 1874, young Arturo Schomberg began a lifelong quest. Still a boy, he took on the mantle of historian because he had to know the truth. In a history club, he noticed that the white youth seemed prouder of their heritage than the black members. Arturo read everything he could about his people, but he did not hurry. He let the facts simmer. True scholarship requires time and calm effort, he figured. Nothing worthwhile is done in haste. After all, there were ages to traverse. Lost for hours in books, Arturo was transported by Benjamin Banneker's almanac to early America. Arturo studied all he could about this self-taught inventor, astronomer, and draftsman. He beamed as he read that Banneker accurately plotted a solar eclipse. Arturo could almost hear the tick-tock of Banneker's handcrafted wooden clock, the first built in the New World. Arturo imagined Banneker counting off minutes, racing time to redraft plans from memory for the streets of Washington, D.C., after French architect Pierre L'Enfant walked off and carted his papers with him to Europe. Banneker reproduced them in only 2 days. The nation's capital, 2 days, by heart. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Where are the monuments to this genius?
I'm going to end with a very short prayer. You know I am all about gratitude, so I hope you'll take a moment to think of all the things in your life that you can be so grateful for. And here's a very short little poem. All good gifts around us are sent from heaven above. So thank the Lord, oh, thank the Lord for all the love. And then here's another really short one that I like too. For flowers that bloom about our feet, for tender grass so fresh, so sweet, for the song of bird and hum of bee, for all things fair we hear or see. Creator in heaven, we thank thee. Just a little thankful prayer. I'll be thinking of you this week. Have a great week.